So as mentioned in the previous video when I was talking about the weapon update release, I plan to revise the movement system in a number of ways, and this is the first video just to cover some of the changes. The planned changes to the movement system actually tend to touch on almost everything. So you can expect to see some videos covering like how walking and jetpacks work and such. And this one specifically, I'm just going to start off with the jetpack. There are a couple of modifications I've made to it so far. The easiest one to notice immediately is the top-end behavior of the jetpack has been changed. Note how I can still hold my jetpack and it'll be active even though I don't really have energy right now. The jetpack is just it's working off of the energy that's constantly replenishing. But watch now as I release. Notice how slowly the energy replenishes, and this is directly related to how long you hold down your jetpack when you run out of reserve energy. So it's the reason for doing this is to curb the low grav nature of the system before. Before, what people were doing, or logically were doing, is since the jetpack is so strong, and since you can use energy as it's being replenished, you effectively always had low grav. You could just hold down your jetpack as long as you were fine with not really having super strong jets, but you permanently have weak jets. Now, the current system of top-end behavior, that eliminates that, and it actually makes the behavior go much more to the standard when you're out of energy, you're out of energy kind of deal, except it's a gradual shift. I'm just going to ski around, and you'll notice that I won't be able to do those very long arcing jumps anymore. I'll actually obey gravity a lot more. Now, another thing that's changed with jetpacks is the way that thrust vectors interact with your velocity. Before, there was nothing was modifying your thrust vector at all. Like when I'm talking about thrust vector, if I press the forward key right now, I will thrust straight forward. Before, that was just a simple thing of if you have energy or whatever, you'll thrust forward with so much energy being applied to the thrust magnitude. But now, if you're already going very fast, the jets will start to fall off. Specifically, the horizontal jets they fall off very quickly after a certain speed. They don't ever completely die. There's no cap or anything like that. But for instance, once they start falling off at that speed, if you're going twice as fast, the jets will be half as weak, or half as strong rather. If you're going 4 times as fast, they'll be a quarter of the strength. If you're 16 times as fast, they'll be, well actually no, 8 times as fast, they will be 1/8 of your strength. You notice that they'll just peter off. It's kind of diminishing returns. What I was aiming to do is also curb the other issue that's cropping up where horizontal jets were they were being used too much to gain speed. It's one of those things where gaining speed with those horizontal jets was almost too easy, and so with them petering off, you're forced to actually start transitioning into using terrain. The upjet has the same mechanic applied to it, but you'll notice it a lot less with the upjet just because normally most velocity is horizontal, so you won't notice the upjet petering off hardly at all. You have to be going very, very quickly upwards. Now, I should also note that this petering off, it is based on your jet's relationship to the velocity. If it's parallel with velocity, like if you're trying to jet forward and your velocity is all forward, that's when it'll be applied with the most strength. Whereas if you're just trying to stop, like, well, I'll just die there. But if you're just trying to stop, you'll have full jet power no matter what. It's because you're opposing your velocity, and whenever you're opposing your velocity, there won't be ever any efficiency thing. The nice thing about that, as I'm sure some of you who recently played some Tribes S games, is you don't have the side effect of not being able to catch yourself when you're falling. it's a very nice thing. So those are pretty much the modifications to the jetpacks for now. There are more planned, but the other major change is carving. Before, carving was simply you just held down a direction and your velocity would slowly transition to that direction. Now, carving is, you still hold down the direction, but you actually have to actively turn while you're doing it. If you don't turn, what happens is the carve strength weakens until the point, like right now I'm going straight this way. If I point perpendicular to my velocity, I won't be able to carve at all. This is very much like Quake movement. Either if you played Vanilla Quake, it's very similar to circle strafing. If you played CPM, where you actually had air control, you'll be right at home. This is very similar to CPM air control, except the difference is that it's applied to carving, so it does act a bit differently. Just due to, as the slope steepens, you're not doing air control. It's related to the surface, so it's pretty intuitive. As I said, I'll carve just for a bit here so you guys can see it as I'm going along. The other thing you'll note is that the threshold for falling damage has been reduced, which means that you start taking falling damage sooner. And the scale for falling damage has also been reduced to combat any high damage that could happen due to the lowering of the threshold. So you'll start to take damage more often. You need to be a bit more careful with landings and such, but the amount of damage you take should be very similar. Like if you're taking, for the very strong amounts of damage, it's still going to be a lot more, but for the weaker amounts, it should be very similar. All of this is to encourage people to if you're going to go fast, you need to manage your speed and your landings. As everybody will notice once they play with these things, you'll note that it kind of punishes player greed, like that right there. In that situation, I was thinking, oh, I'll just go all the way over, but I didn't really realize that I really didn't have enough energy to do it, so I go curse flat. So the better option really would have been to slow down to go over that slope. But that's it for this video. I said there are plenty more movement additions that will be made, and so you can expect some more movement videos as things progress. If you have any questions or comments, you can post them on the YouTube's comment page or on the forums. But that's it. Thanks for watching.